So I have a real treat this week in the form of the very long-awaited Urban Tarot. I signed up to the Kickstarter of this several years back and waited with bated breath for it to finally come out, and it's certainly not a disappointment. The book is absolutely beautiful. For each card there's a large colour image and an excellent bit of text that talks about how the creator sees this card, as well as who modelled for it, how it was put together, and it's really fascinating information, very simply but nicely written. The same for all of the minors as well, the same level of detail, and a little thing of when each card was completed also. So it's an absolutely gorgeous book. Wonderful colour, wonderful images, really nicely done. Funny that we should get to this. This is the card that I originally learnt about this deck because of. A friend of mine absolutely adored this card and contacted Robin Scott at the time to ask whether she could use it as her avatar on the Tabby Forum, the Tarot Association of the British Isles Forum, and that's how I first found out about this deck. And so when we found out that there was a Kickstarter running, we both plunged in and went for the deck. Let's have a quick look. So there's some stuff about New York and its streets, the city itself, and an introduction to the elements, and then we move on to the cards. I love this, the backs of the cards, I think that is. And yep. So I also really like the way that Robin has dealt with the court cards. So these each have a kind of subtitle, like the Princess of Discs is the kindergarten teacher, the Prince of Discs is the day trader, we have the matriarch, and the gourmet chef for the Knight of Discs. These add another level of understanding to the cards, and they really help make the court cards very accessible, and they've been created in a very modern way that works beautifully, and the imagery is always very detailed. The only thing that for me is always a little strange is that it's taken the Thoth, well, it's a Thoth-based deck, so the Knight of Swords is actually equivalent to the King in a Rider-Waite system, and then you have the Queen, the Prince, and the Princess. So the King is the fire of that particular element. Well, like the Knight of Swords would be the fire of air in elemental terms. And each of the knights does have a horse somewhere within the card, even if the person themselves isn't riding it, though here he does have a knight in his hand, which is another lovely touch for the game master. So altogether, absolutely gorgeous book, very well researched, very well thought out. The deck also came with a couple of little bits and bobs, an extra card with a thank you and my backer number and so on. Then there was my packing slip. It's all very nicely done. And a little invitation to download the Urban Tarot mobile app, which I haven't done yet, but still. So let's take a look at the cards. Being one of the backers, I got it in this reading cloth, which was one of the bonuses that came because the Kickstarter sort of more than made its deadline, its target rather, and it also comes with a velvet book, a velvet bag, which has the same symbols, the elemental symbols and the infinity symbol, and the same design as we also see on the book cover. So it's all, you can really see that Robin is an accomplished designer as well as illustrator in all these details and connections. So let's pull out the cards. Exciting. So, the box is quite simple. It still has this lovely design element to it. Let's break through the cellophane. So, the box is very sturdy, nice cardboard lift-off top. And the backs, as I say, have this wonderful design that Robin came up with to echo the New York subway system, and it's fully reversible. So a very nice back on that. And then a little title card before we move into the cards themselves. So for the Fool, the Magician, or the Mage, the High Priestess, the Empress with her baby in a high chair, the Emperor, dark commanding figure, the Hierophant, the Lovers, Robin getting married, the Chariot, Justice, interestingly a male figure rather than a female figure, the Hermit in the underground, the Wheel of Fortune, Strength, the Hanged Man. Death is a pretty creepy card in this deck, with a heart coming out of a cadaver and a doctor, that whole life and death thing. Art, this card is absolutely stunning. I love that there's the Pamela Coleman Smith as a piece of street art, almost melting, flowing down into the paints on the street, and then a sort of much more modern angel. So it's a combination of Thoth and Rider-Waite, which Robin acknowledges fully and is beautifully done. The Devil, the Towers, which is a powerful card, the Star. The Moon is also pretty creepy. There's, looks like a crocodile and some kind of hellhound almost. It's quite a bit darker than most moons, definitely emphasising that confusion, mystery, creepiness. And a bright sun in contrast. A very interesting card here where her reflection shows that this is something that would have been the same over a long period of time, rising up. And the Universe. So the minors are Thoth-alikes. They are based on the Thoth deck to a large degree. They are more illustrated than the Thoth deck, with these often quite architectural or iconic items. Like here it's a fire truck for the Three of Wands, and there are people in them. Like here, Four of Wands does have people showing. So it's an unusual and interesting combination. You have the pip basically bits, and yet you also have the illustrated bits, which works very well. And it's mostly influenced by Thoth, but it does also have Rider-Waite aspects. Victory, and of course these are mostly the Thoth keywords on all the minors. So the Seven of Wands, Valour, and you know, different people have different feelings around keywords, but it is what it is. I love this one, bicycle, for swiftness, and yet it is also that wheel spinning, which echoes the wheel of the Thoth. So a very nice combination that makes reading intuitively really work. And yeah, as I say, the court cards have a lot of depth and interest to them. I wouldn't have picked the journalist for the Prince of Wands. I would have put that in one of the swords cards, but you know, I can also see someone who's sort of gift of the gab, outgoing. And a very beautiful Ace of Cups here. Really, there's so much to like about this deck. One thing I like is that it is quite multicultural. It's, you know, the melting pot that is New York is the idea behind it, so that you will have, you know, people of different ethnicities. Oh, this is quite a raunchy one. I have a thing for hands, so this one really does it for me. The Six of Cups. Not something I would associate with pleasure in this sense. For me, it's more about childhood memories, but I can see where that's coming from, and the image itself is very striking. Fun cocktail glasses for the debauch of the seven. So yes, it has a real mix of people, and it's, you know, a very open, tolerant, inclusive deck, which I also really like. That fits well for London as well as for New York. Yes, the seducer for the Knight of Cups. He does look like that. I often see the King, or in this deck it would be the Knight of Cups, as the therapist because of a certain emotional detachment, but it can go both ways, and that's an interesting picture. Prince of Cups, the filmmaker, putting emotions into words or into images. So, as I say, there's a lot of architectural stuff, a lot of linkage to New York. This is, after all, the Urban Tarot based on urban life of New York as opposed to any other place. And that is apparent in many ways in the cards, with the architectural features and things like the baseball stadiums in the Five of Wands and so on. The cards have a lot of interest, a lot to work with, I would say. So, you know, depending on whether or not you like keywords, that may be something that's an issue for you. And one friend did say that they wished that there was less space dedicated to border and more just to the images. But that's, you know, a matter of taste. And I think the images are still clear, are still powerful, and I think it will also read quite easily in larger spreads and be easy to see and recognise. The suit elements are quite subtle. The colours vary from suit to suit, and there's elemental symbols to show what they are. So it doesn't say coins or pentacles, it just has the earth symbol at the bottom. And yes, altogether, a lovely deck that I'm glad to finally have in my hands. And as I say, I'm very impressed. The cardstock feels nice, it's not overly thick. It may be a little glossy for some people's taste. I quite like glossy personally, but I think this will also be easy to shuffle. The cards are flexible but don't feel flimsy. They do feel like they have a strength to them, but they will also be easy to shuffle in whichever way you best prefer. I'm a riffler myself, though I also do hand over hand, so that's something that's quite important to me. And yes, as I say, the stories in the book, especially about the models and the inspiration behind these cards, really adds a depth to them as well. And it's lovely that, you know, some of the backers actually got to be people in the card images. Altogether, I am very much looking forward to using this beautiful deck, the Urban Tarot by Robin Scott. Blessed be.